Hello and welcome to the Rebel Ballerina Show. I am Lisa Loree, your host, the Rebel Ballerina, which that just, kind of makes sense. So, anyway, I like logic, that partly is my tism, autism. Liking things very methodical, logical. It's probably why I love ballet so much, because when you really dig in, ooh, there's a lot of good stuff there. Anyway, the last few weeks I've been talking about behaviors, like things that we should know, what we would call common courtesies that seemingly aren't so common anymore. Not sure why. Although I do have some theories, which I will share in just a moment. But these behaviors are things like, how you park your car. If you have a super long order and you go into the drive-through instead of walking inside when you have a large order. The parking issue is, whether you're nicely in the lines or you're askew so that someone can't park next to you or not very easily, or especially if they go ahead and ram your car afterwards when, because they didn't leave you enough space to park very well. And then they take it out on you even more by scraping up the side of your car, which did just happen to me a few weeks ago. Thank you so much. This is part of the reason why I'm doing this rant. It's because I'm tired of it. Tired of people being pretty much, as the French call it now that we've watched a few French programs, these, what is it, asses with holes? I think is how they put it. It's really funny. Assholes. Yeah. Hole in the ass. Maybe that's how they say it. Anyway, it's pretty cute. I like to refer actually to this type of people, though, as pieces of shit, because as I've stated before, assholes are actually functional. They serve a very important purpose. If we didn't have an asshole, we would all be in a world of hurt. Actually, we would all be dead because we would have gone septic by now. So, a super important function, but it is getting rid of those pieces of shit, which are toxic. That's who those people are. Pieces of shit. So if you can't park your car nicely, you're behaving like a piece of shit. I'm just saying. Now I know sometimes you're like, I'm just going to run out real fast. I get that. But it doesn't take that much longer to straighten out your car. Really. It doesn't. I do it all the time because I'm not going to act like a piece of shit. I'm sure I do in other ways, but I'm not going to do that one. How about putting things back where they go? Again, I used the example, and I just watched it again 2 days ago at the gym. People just leaving their stuff that they've used, not their personal stuff, but the gym's stuff, take it off a rack, use it, and just walk away. Now, I know for most people that I'm talking about, because I'm talking about adults, kindergarten was indeed a while ago. But these are some of those things that should have been so fully impressed upon us that we just don't forget. And again, common courtesy. Oh, someone else might want to use that. I'll put it back so it can be found easily. Or I'll put that back so someone knows the space is available as well. Stuff like that. Or making a correct left turn. When you have multiple turn lanes, don't turn into the other lane next to you because, that could cause a real big accident. So that's like really, really, really need to remember how to color within the lines. And then there's behaviors like being rude to service people, as in not military. I'm talking about the service industry, like waitresses, or I guess we call them servers now, waiters, waitresses, bartenders, bussers, anyone who has that kind of role where They are there to serve you, which is why it's called the service industry, obviously. But they are still people who deserve to be treated kindly and with respect and not be viewed as beneath. Well, I have a white collar profession and you are beneath me, oh lowly service person. Yeah, that's bullshit. That is definitely being a piece of shit. I understand you got the hangries, you get a little short with the person who's trying to take your order because A, they can't read your mind. And although in some places that I go so frequently, yes, they can. I already know what the order is before I've walked through the door. I make it easy, I guess, because of my tism, because I get very set in my patterns, and that's what I want, and that's what I have for a super duper duper long time until suddenly my taste buds say, "Okay, we're done," and then I have to do something else. I went through this with my own child or children, but especially my son, who would only eat certain things and had to be certain brands, and they were very, very, very limited. And one day he just decided, nope, don't like that kind anymore after I'd bought, 2 cases full. Oh my word. Clothing, same way. He wanted to wear a certain kind of shorts. So I went and bought like however many sizes because he's growing. And they were there. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, too bad you grew, but now that's not in season. So I wanted to stay ahead of the game. And then it was like, oh no, I don't like those anymore. So I can only imagine what it was like for my poor mom because I am exactly the same way and didn't know it was tism at the time. She probably just thought I was a brat, which I can understand that. But I get set on something, and even Jimmy, my boyfriend, laughs because he will watch me eat just the same thing. Like, I think the latest that this happened, and granted, this was many years ago, because I don't eat like this anymore, but it was Pop Tarts. And I was eating Pop Tarts every day. And I just couldn't get enough Pop Tarts until one day, suddenly, my body flipped that switch and I was like, ooh, nope, no more. I'm done. Which in this case was a really good thing. And so I've chosen better now. So now my thing is good hamburgers, like from Burger Lounge. Oof. Oh, and by the way, Burger Lounge now does their fries with tallow instead of seed oils, which is so much better. So much better, and they taste so much better. The only problem is now they're even more tempting. I guess I'm still trying to not have carbs. So on the one hand, it's really great, and they've done a very good thing by switching to tallow instead of seed oil, but now it's even more difficult for me to pass on the fries. Ugh. Anyway. So, but that's my thing. So now these folks see me coming, they know exactly what I'm going to order. So I make that easy. They barely have to think about it. Although sometimes I change it up a little bit. But I don't hold that against them. If I change my mind, I'm not going to be like, you didn't know what I want. I'm telling you, when we get the hangries, this species of ours turns into a totally different one, like from back in, I don't know, caveman days or maybe dinosaurs. That's how we act. I'm just saying, if you get the hangries, I get it. Everyone gets the hangries. But you might want to apologize to that person. And it's just, I'm so sorry. I'm so hungry. I didn't mean to take it out on you. That's all you need to say. And then they're like, okay. And more often than not, they're going to be like, oh, it's no problem. Even though it really hurt at the moment. And maybe it isn't that much of a problem now that you've apologized. But when no one apologizes, it's a huge burden. I mean, geez, the things that we do to each other, whether we know it or not, but especially when we know it. Oh, it's these behaviors. And so I started talking about it last week because in talking with Jimmy, it's like, you know what? This really is a huge issue. And folks like me, like Jimmy, and others that we would call fawns because we are nice, giving. We like to people please, right? So we don't want someone else to feel bad. So we generally don't do discourteous things because we want others, the other people around us, whether they are strangers or part of our family or good friends or coworkers, whatever, we want people to not feel stressed because of us. That's I know that's how I view it. I don't want to put people out. I don't want to hold up the line. I know other people are in a hurry. I don't want to be that person to hold up the line and make their day stressful. So that's my vantage point. As a fawn, I want everyone else to be happy. Now, I've taken that to way too much of an extreme and nearly killed me because I was so far back on the list that I didn't even exist anymore. Oh, my body was here. I wasn't. But my point for this discussion, and it could be a discussion if you'd like to join in at any time, that'd be great. Um, the purpose of this is to keep bringing up and bringing to attention those seemingly insignificant, viewed as possible yellow flags, but really they're red flags. And they're not little, they're big. Because when you start adding up these behaviors, it's a lot. And I have seen, not just in my own personal relationships, I've seen other families and their family members. I've seen businesses with supposed friends who were business partners. And these behaviors are rather pervasive, it seems, these days. It's really scary. Wondering what on earth is happening to us as a society. I can make it through words. But it just seems like, wow, is it true that, narcissists are just, this narcissistic kind of behavior is just becoming more prolific? And there are more actual narcissists today? Is it, like what's really happening? But on the other hand, it really shines a light on us fawns. We are so willing to accept this crap behavior. So as the behaviors become worse, we get more intimidated by them and we just let them go. And so therefore they just keep getting worse. So what I'm saying is that it's up to us. We have to say, no, I don't accept that. We have to be able to read these flags and be able to say to your friend, even, you think you're having a friendly time with someone, let's go get coffee, let's go get caught up, let's whatever, right? And it's just a friend, and they happen to be, well, kind of moody maybe, or they like to complain a lot, and maybe they have a lot of stuff going on, but usually when you get together, it's just they're always like nah, 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 and unloading all their complaints on you. That's a red flag. That's a red flag too. Can the people around you, are they always complaining about stuff, or do they ever speak positive things, or just talk about maybe even neutral, you know? Um, but that's a red flag. And if you see someone, you think it's just a friend, and so it's not that big a deal, and they're rude to the coffee server or cashier or whatever the case may be, um, that's not just a little insignificant thing. That should start causing you to go, I don't want to hang around this person. And it's really funny. It's really sad. It's really funny. But years before I got divorced, I was listening for the first time to some more of the positive mindset kind of stuff. And, they were saying, you got to get rid of the people around you that are bringing you down. And I was like, "Jeez, what do you do when you're it's your spouse?" Well, I eventually did what I should have done. Because here's the thing, we are who we are by association. So the 5 people you spend the most time with, that's who you are too. That's just how it works. That's not me making this up. That's well known. And I can't remember who said that, who brought that to light first. I mean, you could think of people like Jim Rohn, um, John Maxwell, some of these great leaders in positive thinking and learning how to treat yourself kindly. But hey, you could go back to Napoleon Hill, and you could go back to, I mean, Tony Robbins right now, David Bayer is huge in this. And, but you could go back probably to Aristotle. These are just observations, they are universal truths. And it's that simple. And then Jim learned it very closely firsthand by a gentleman named um, Bob. Why can't I think? Bob Donnell. And Bob Donnell was just an amazing person. And he literally was a behaviorist. And he was all about association and building the right kinds of associations and making sure that you're around the right kind of people who help you to grow. And then you become in this higher energy yourself and level up, in your own personal self and in what you're doing. And that helps to bring the people around you up as well, like especially your kids. So this has so much more to do than just little red flags or big red flags. This has to do with us, fawn types, waking up and saying, enough. It's enough. That we're way beyond enough, actually. As a society, we are way far beyond enough. And we need to be standing up for ourselves. We have to do that individually. We have to. And then hopefully it'll grow and make a difference in the community around us. So when you're out with your friend having coffee, back to that example, if they're being rude, you don't even necessarily have to say anything, although you can say, "Gosh, that was kind of rude, don't you think?" And bring it up and see what they say. That could be a nice end to it all right there and make it very convenient for you. Because they're like, "What are you talking about? I'm not rude." Decision made, right? You could do a 3 strikes kind of thing if you want, but sometimes you're better off to just flippin' run. Run and run fast and run far when it comes to a lot of these people. And I obviously did not learn that the very easy way at all, which is a huge reason why I'm even doing this show, because I'm trying to build up awareness and help other people go, "Oh, gosh, that sounds like me." You know, putting yourself on the back burner so far that you're not even in the kitchen. Are you even on the property? Because I wasn't for a real long time. And it's bad. If I had stood up for myself in the first place, I would have saved myself decades of grief. Why not save yourself decades of grief? Gotta wake up. Don't stand in the road with the headlights on you. Yeah, we're fawns, but you're going to get run over again if you do that. Because people who display these bad behaviors, and these are just, like I said, they seem insignificant and they seem like, oh, well, people are in a hurry and blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I get that. But are we in such a hurry that we can't just be nice humans? Is that where we've gotten? Because that's just wrong. That's bullshit. No, 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 no. People are complaining about AI right now. Oh my God, the world's going to turn to robots and blah, blah, blah. Well, then stop treating people like robots now as a human. Where's the common courtesy? It would be really a laugh in a sad way if the robots end up being more courteous than we are. Then what good are we as humans? I mean, you kind of have to ask that question. Am I being just as mechanical and robotic as a bot? Or am I taking a few seconds, maybe a couple of minutes? Oh my gosh, that might be an inconvenience to me, but maybe a couple of minutes so that I can actually be a nice human. It is our choice. I'm just saying. I'm just observing the stuff that's happening around me, and that's what this is about. And one of those observations is if we don't wake up, then all of those kind of people keep getting worse. And the community nature of humans and that niceness, common courtesy, all of those things just start to disappear. And that's largely because we don't stop it. We don't say, hey, don't treat me like that. Hey, park your car better. Hey, when you have a big order, go inside because you're holding up the whole line back here. And then if they give you grief, it's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly who you are. And if those people are actually in your life, just know that that association is hurting you. It's tearing you down. You want to be around people who are helping you, who are energizing you and cheering you on and giving you encouragement, not people who are tearing you down or just being rude or being moody, or they're complaining all the time how life just isn't okay and they're being so mistreated. Now I can tell you that that is one thing you can count on. If you're hearing a lot of I'm such a victim, that person's probably not a good person for you. That's a big red flag too. Oh my, lots of red flags everywhere. But I want you to be able to see that, because for me, I kind of did see that, but when it was my marriage, I was already trapped in it because that was a nice little bait and switch type of deal. I went into it forthright. He did not. And he had a totally different idea of what my life should look like, but didn't let me know that until after the vows were said. That's so convenient, right? So then you have to go through a lot more. But if it's just a friend, or maybe you need to switch jobs, I don't know. If it's your boss or coworkers, or if you can't do that or you don't want to, which is entirely justified if you really like the job that you're doing or the career that you're in, the passion that you're able to actually do, then it's time to grow some antlers and say, you know what, I'm not going to put up with that. Take your complaints elsewhere. I'm going to be positive. I'm not going to be bogged down by your shit. And if they don't like it, oh well. Because because that's what's going to happen. You are going to get pushed back. And we know this instinctively. That's why we don't do anything. That's why we let it go for so long and we keep getting run over and hurt and burnt out and exhausted because we're not willing to stand up for ourselves and we just let them keep doing it. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm saying it's time to freaking rebel. Rebel. Freaking fucking rebel. Rebel against all of that. Rebel against this conditioning that keeps us so timid and small, and rebel against the people who take it out on us. That's exactly what this is about. It's time. It's way past time, actually. And we got to reel it in because things are just out of hand. Just take a day. Just take a day. Any day. It could be today. You could take a day on the weekend when you're more out and about, or maybe you're seeing this right now, real time in your office or workplace or home or neighborhood or whatever. Just take a look, observe, and see how many times you watch someone being discourteous, rude. On the other hand, I don't want you to get bogged down and feel depressed. There still are a ton of people out there because more people are fawns, thankfully, I believe, than narcissistic. And so more people are generally nice and courteous, kind. I observe that too. I'm just saying, if we don't want it to shift because it's getting more and more of the rude behavior, if we don't want that to just and become lopsided or turned upside down, we got some work to do right now in not letting people walk all over us anymore. And part of that, you got to understand where this even comes from, this conditioning that produces this fawn response. And that's what I'm all about. That's why I have the Rebel Ballerina Show. That's why I'm writing my book, The Rebel Ballerina. And that's why I have my program, Rebel Fawn, because y'all might not be a ballerina. So, in the grander scale, it's Rebel Fawn, because I'm a fawn. I will bend over backwards, and I really can do that now, but literally, I'm getting arabesque back, which I haven't done in like 30 years. Well, at least 27, because that's how old my son is. And I was like, out to here. And then I had a vertical C-section in my abs. So being able to do arabesque was really messy for a while. Now I can do it. And now I can do a back bend. So I literally can bend over backwards for you. And figuratively speaking, I do that all the time because I'm a fawn. I want people to be happy, people pleasing, right? That's what we do. We want to keep the peace. We want to give. We want to be empathetic. And there is absolutely zero wrong with that when we're doing it with a safe person. The bad part is when we are abused by it and for it. And that's what I'm talking about. We can people please and be helpful and generous and giving and kind all we want to the right people, because we know it's going to be in kind. There's going to be reciprocation, and that's not the motivation, but we just know that we're not being taken advantage of. But boy, I tell you what, there are an awful lot of people out there that just look at us as pure prey. And they're eating a nice lunch. Speaking of lunch, it's getting quite close for my lunch. I'm getting hungry, so time for those burgers at Burger Lounge. Anyway, just saying. So I'll wrap this up, but I know there's a lot that I've talked about, but really it is one thing. It's one thing. It's growing some antlers. All of us fawns out there. and standing up for ourselves. There's ways to go about that. I'd love to help you with it, and we can get into more of that later on, but feel free to contact me. You can always put in a comment on Facebook at Rebel Fawn, or here on YouTube under the Rebel Ballerina Show. So, think about it. Start observing. Take the time. It doesn't even take that long, really. But notice you are going to see a lot of nice stuff, which is great. And I am so thankful for that. But notice how frequently the narcissistic stuff starts to happen. The red flags start showing. And then, of course, if it's with your own kind of person, like you're already involved with that person, I'm not talking about strangers. They're already in your lives. You got some stuff you got to figure out if you really want to have that person as part of your association, because they're only going to make your life difficult, as you probably already know. But the longer you stay in it, the worse you're going to be. So you got some choices. Anyway, have a great day. Enjoy your lunch if you haven't had already. And I'll see you again next week.